How easy is that to register on Kickstarter?
We create product that is enough to differentiate.
How is the process compared to Amazon on Kickstarter?
So you're not limited to just benefit and feature.
What's the uplift that we can see if you channel it through Kickstarter?
So we used to launch a campaign that is so modularable.
So how is that relevant for Amazon sellers in terms of thinking outside the box?
Ecom Squeezed podcast.
Welcome back to Ecom Squeezed. I am your host Sebastian, founder of Retail-Outsource, and today we are diving deep into the strategy that turns Kickstarter from not just a crowdfunding platform into a powerful marketing and community building tool. Our guest today is Dylan Lamb, also known as Digital Dylan, Amazon seller, an agency owner, and absolute pro at using Kickstarter. Not just launch product, but to build brand and loyal followers. Dylan, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Sebastian. I'm stoked to be here.
Great. So in today's episode, I want to pick your brain on how to use Kickstarter or Indiegogo. And we can talk a little bit about building brand and driving traffic from outside of Amazon, or building brand outside of Amazon. So before that, I just want to tell you what's your background, how you end up being specialized on the Kickstarter and on the brand building side.
So I started on eBay and we moved to Amazon, and we bootstrapped the brand by helping Chinese seller to run PPC on Amazon. So we become like a service agency alongside building our own brand. Then a lot of like Chinese seller complaints like all the black hat tactic is not working, gray hat tactic is not working. They're getting suspended because of the manipulating the reviews, maybe being hijacked by hijackers, right? So they started to think about, I really need to build a brand. Trying to sell on Amazon using like a brand method rather than just like a drop shipping method, or maybe just snapping on a logo method. Right? So then, like the one of the tipping point is when the COVID come. Every Amazon sellers, like a different category, they have stumble sales or out of stocks, or like they got blow up, right? So that's the point when people think about, crap, I cannot just sell on Amazon. I feel like I'm working for Jeff Bezos only. We are barely making any margin after all the suspension and the cash flow problem, right? And so we started Kickstarter. We started like helping our own. Well, to be fair, before COVID, we started launching on Amazon. I started launching on Kickstarter already. So clients started to see our success, and then they wanted us to help them launch on Kickstarter. And so the rest is the history.
Great, yeah. So for the Kickstarter, right? Could you just give us a background? Is that the one of the main platform that's available? Means there are a few other platforms, right? Like Indiegogo.
Yeah.
And you have Kickstarter. And how big are they?
How big are they? I wouldn't use a size to measure how big they are, but I would use community to measure them. Because I think one of the challenges brand doesn't have right now, especially on Amazon, is they don't have a community. If they don't have a community, they don't have a loyal follower. And if they don't have loyal follower, then they don't have a lifetime customer. And most of the Amazon seller, they only own a Amazon brand. Whereas like when you're selling a cup, maybe like now a Stanley cup as Stanley cup, right? Because Stanley is a brand, but there's tons of Stanley cup on Amazon that is not called Stanley cup. They would just call I just got it from Amazon, but not the brand, right? And so that's the true problem there, because they don't have the loyal follower, that they cannot translate them into a brand ambassador that help you increase your brand uplift. And that's why people can only remember Stanley Cup or Amazon.
Okay, that's great, Dylan. And for the Kickstarter, so let's assume that I want to launch a product, right? So at what stage you will list the product on
So when we want to launch a product, so the traditional way, which is like our old way, is either you just put it on your website or on Amazon once the product have fully developed, or once you place an order from the manufacturer, right? Whereas in Kickstarter, we treat them as in like rather a marketing campaign, but not a crowdfunding campaign. The aim there is to at least make the whole campaign break even after you finish the campaign, right? And to not make a loss. How do we do that? Most of the people, when we launch on Amazon, we suffer like maybe at least 2 months worth of inventory. If you have done the research, if you're fast enough, if you have speed to the market, then if you have a long product life cycle, then you might be able to need to get a second order immediately. So once you arrive the Amazon, then you might need to order the third month already, because obviously it takes 2 months to go back to Amazon UK or Amazon US. So the landing time is actually a problem. That's why you're forced to order a third month worth of inventory once you landed the location. And at that point, you still don't know whether or not your product is profitable or not, because say you run PPC, you are forced to have high ACoS when you first launch. You have low BSL, you have no impression, you got no even though if you got like the so-called honeymoon period, right? Still you are not getting as much traffic as possible because you simply have not ranked your keyword yet to page 1 or page 2, right? So what crowdfunding offer is that you started created your product in China, and then you started create a landing page to see if there's any engagement, to see if there's any sales, to see how good is the metrics before you start placing an order. No, before you start even launching on Kickstarter first, right? Until this point, you still did not have to spend a dime on the inventory at all. So selling on Amazon, say for one product, would cost you 10K because 2 months worth of inventory. Selling on selling on Kickstarter first, you don't need to pay for 10K in inventory. Instead, you get at least maybe K or 50K or 90K from your potential customer first before you place an order. So that make the whole situation upside down, where in the traditional sense you try to get a bank loan to fund your launch, but then right now you get the backers money to fund your launch, and you are actually if your crowdfunding successful, if your crowdfunding campaign is successful, it means that your campaign is validated, your product is validated, and it opens up a lot of potential. If you launch from Amazon first, right? Firstly, even though if it is making money or if it is making a break even on the second month or third month, that still doesn't validate your product. Why? Because you did not build a community. Why? Because you didn't find out whether or not if Facebook would sell your product, would TikTok sell your product, would Google sell your product, right? All you know is Amazon sells your product, that you can make a living on Amazon. But as time have proven, Amazon is not a place for making a decent living. You might just get like a 10% or 5% or 20% profit margin max maybe, but in the long run you want to get off the Amazon and build the brand, exit the brand, or if you don't want to exit the brand, you want to build multi-channel to really get the sales going.
That's great explanation, Dan. So from what I understand is that you can build a community with Kickstarter. You can get the money from the backers, and you can also validate the products as well, right? So those are three crucial things that you can get from Kickstarter. My next question will be, how easy is that to register on Kickstarter? Is there any like special vetting process that's involved, or you can just sign up and then list your product?
So I think anyone can list on Kickstarter or Indiegogo as long as you have a company, you have Stripe. Back in the old days, they don't verify your identity, but then there's too much scam project out there. That's why they have this implementation of having you to validate your identity. So your question is like what's the process? Is that a question? What's the process to? You're on mute. Sorry, you're on mute again. I can't hear you.
Yeah. So sorry about that. On Amazon, for example, you have to send the documents, verification, passport, bank statement, and then you have to do the video verification.
Yeah.
So compared to that, you just mentioned that they will just check the ID, right?
Yeah. Your company business registration, your Stripe account, and then they will have Stripe to verify your identity, and that's it. It's easy, like nothing compared to Amazon ridiculous kind of like long process of KYC. After the KYC, you still got video call, and then after the video call, you might trigger another KYC again. So no, it's so much easier.
Yeah. So what about the products? So for example, if I can just drop ship a product from Alibaba, what are the system in place in cases like that? Do they ask for product patent, or what's special about your product in order to qualify to be listed on Kickstarter?
So that's a very, very good question, because if you remember at the start of the podcast, I said we don't treat Kickstarter as in a crowdfunding platform, we treat it as a marketing platform, because like we don't really create super duper unique product. We create product that is enough to differentiate. So essentially, this is what every sellers on Amazon is doing. Create product enough to differentiate, and you can put it on Kickstarter, right? So I will give you an example. So if you look at how product have been evolved, right? They evolve from a basic product into a potential product, like just a baking tray, a oven baking tray that like you can get it from Tesco for maybe £5, right? But right now there is a new product called modular baking tray. A modular baking tray is a silicone one, of course, silicone modular baking tray, right? Technically, you normally just get a baking steel plate, you just put it in the oven. Right now, you have kind of like modular part, a rectangular one, square one, right, to come up with a modular one, right? That campaign generate around 1 million because of a new product, right? So if you're innovative enough to turn a product like just a oven tray to a modular one, then yeah, you get 1 million. But there's another but not everyone is that innovative, right? So we make product to enough to be differentiate. So what do? We put a handle on the oven baking tray and we put it on Kickstarter. And that campaign generate around 150K. Nothing compared to 1 million. Nothing compared to 1 million. But then you generate 100K in return. Of course, we have the cash flow things. Another return is you build a brand that can last for a long time. So that's the idea.
That's a very good point, Dylan. And in terms of listing on Kickstarter, on Amazon it's completely different, right? You have to do the keyword research and stuff like that. How is the process compared to Amazon on Kickstarter? You have to do the keyword research, or what about the creatives? Is there any specific way that you're doing on Kickstarter?
Sorry, could you repeat that? Like, are you asking about the asset?
Yeah. For example, on Kickstarter, if you want to list the product on Kickstarter, is there any specific way that you're doing it in terms of maybe images or the video or the content?
So that's one thing that is very good when it comes to Kickstarter. I guess there's nothing to be good, but then I mean, once you finish your Kickstarter, your asset list is gonna be way bigger than if you just list on Amazon. Because on Amazon, you just need 7 images, you need EBC, and that's it, right? You might have a shitty video. That's it. And the key now, like every Amazon video, when you first launch it, you won't invest in the video. We just call it like that, a shitty video, right? But on Kickstarter, no, you cannot just upload a shitty video. You need to have an authentic video or story-based video or a video that really translate about your product. When I mean shitty video, I remember there's a Amazon's representative call me saying that, hey, okay, they can do a video for me for free. And so yeah, I mean, if you can, just do it. What they do is they literally just combine all the 7 images together and put some transition and text on the video, and they just upload to my video on the 7th slot, right? So I was like, okay, that is interesting. If you are the sales representative, but you accept this kind of quantity, it means that other people will do the same. Because having a video production will cost you at least 5K if you find someone else, right? But if you do it by yourself, that would be 2K. So in crowdfunding, you have to first invest into your video, which is utterly most important stuff. Normally, we'll spend around 2K or less than, or like a 1.5K. That includes models. That includes finding a cooperator on Fiverr. Or if you can do it by yourself, then you can control it all under in 1K. So that will be the most important stuff. The second important thing would be your listing banner, right? So when you scroll, the difference between the EBC from Amazon, the Amazon EBC are very benefit and feature focused, right? Whereas on Kickstarter, they do have the same, but the layout is so flexible. So you're not limited to just benefit and feature. You would have a comparison chart. You will have at the end you could upload like a UGC from YouTube, or maybe you could some earned media, unpaid media at the top, and you will have maybe the, what do you call that, like the sample, the sample at the end. Because having samples, typically like the samples one is not really samples, because if you remember what we say is like we are marketing campaign, right? So you just upload a existing picture, you have someone else draw out that looks like a sample, and then you upload it into a site to turn the picture into sketching thing, and that becomes a sample, right? And if you have like a pass, like if you sell electronic pass, then you can just break open your product, and then you lay down the pass on the table, and then you can just take a picture, then that's your sample. So on Amazon, the picture is more of like very Photoshop, very graphic-y, very somehow clickbait-y, right? But then in Kickstarter, they don't allow 3D stuff. And so the quality of Kickstarter stuff, when you finish by the end of the campaign, adding all up, you have way more asset than just 7 images on Amazon. That's all I can say.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Then. So I just want to ask you, do you have you tried to launch a product without Kickstarter on Amazon? Kind of similar category, and you have some listed on Kickstarter, and from there you have launched a product. Do you have any case studies like that? What's the uplift that we can see if you channel it through Kickstarter?
Yeah, I would say when we talk about launching on Kickstarter first, on Amazon first, not every product is suitable to launch on Kickstarter. Obviously, Kickstarter and Indiegogo have their own category. They are environmental. Like if you're selling like something that is good for the environment, it's good for Kickstarter. If you're selling like electronic, it's good for Indiegogo. And if you're selling like some design stuff like homemade category, Kickstarter. If you're into supplement, of course not. It's not for you on Kickstarter. If you're into DIY, Kickstarter is for you. But if you're selling like generic kind of like what do we call commercial stuff like bamboo chopstick, or maybe nail clipper, right? Put it this way, like if your product is not high enough in value to go exceed 30 to 35 pounds, then you shouldn't go on to Amazon, because you shouldn't go on to Kickstarter because it doesn't worth that amount. You might as well just launch it on Amazon immediately, right? Because your differentiation is not gonna be big enough to attract a customer to buy on Kickstarter.
Yeah, that's a very, very good point, Dylan. Now I want to pick your brain on, is there any restriction? For example, if you are listed on Kickstarter, you can't have the listing on Amazon, for example. Is there any policies like that within Kickstarter?
Things that cannot be listed on Kickstarter.
Yes. So for example, if you launch the product on Kickstarter, can you list it on Amazon maybe at the same time, or maybe after 1 month or anything like that?
Yeah, that's one of the challenge that we used to face as well. So again, we are a marketing product because we are not inventing product. Well, to be fair, we are still inventing product because we invent to be enough to become enough to differentiate. So typically, when you list your product on Kickstarter, it means that you would have your sample with your manufacturer ready. Each of the year there's like different kind of fairs like happening in China, right? Catalog on AliExpress or Alibaba, Canton Fair in Shenzhen. There's 3 different kind of fairs, like and in Hong Kong there's like a mega fair as well. As long as your product is not on the internet, then you'll be fine, right? So we will just tell the manufacturer, hey, this is we want to put into agreement with you. You will give us until this month that you shouldn't showcase this product to your customer. Well, you know that they will showcase anyway, right? Because you didn't pay for the mold, and it's like it's a property that is like for both party, right? So even though you tell them not to put it in, you just have to make sure that they don't put it on the internet, right? Or if they do, we just ask them to take down, because if they don't take down, then they will not get our order. So it's like a mutual benefit things. And another situation is pay for your mold, right? We used to share the cost at the mold with the manufacturer, where they will increase the unit price for us. But then right now we will just build our own mold as well, and so our unit price is lower, and we got exclusive to this shape and color, and therefore we can just remove the product from the market.
Great. And in terms of pricing, do you have to apply any specific kind of pricing strategy on Kickstarter compared to, if you're launching on Amazon later on at some point. So do you play with the pricing, or do you plan it correctly for that?
You mean the pricing on Kickstarter, or you mean the pricing for multi-channel?
Yeah. So, for example, at the starting we have to list it on Kickstarter, right? So
Yeah.
let's assume that your RRP is like £100. So in that case, how do you price
Okay.
on Kickstarter?
Okay, yeah. So in Kickstarter, there is most of the campaign in general. There is like super early bird, late bird, and Kickstarter special. I mean, they're kind of standard things already. But then it gets complicated when you have bundles, right? Because bundles makes it so much harder for you to price things. So we used to launch a campaign that is so modularable that you can literally pick and pack stuff about what do they need. So it's too complicated that we need to create a Excel sheet for them to go on to type out what you need to customize your product, and then once they complete the need, then we'll just recommend them the package. Essentially, it's like a quiz funnel. We tell them what you need, and then they come back and pick the right package. That's one of the hardest part. But then, I can talk about, I can shine some light on how we price things, right? So super early bird is for reservation funnel. So when we launch a Kickstarter product, we have a reservation funnel, as in we're doing the interest picking time. We are going to know who is interested, right? So for those people who committed earlier on, we let them buy the super early bird, become like a premium thing for them, a reason for them to back us, to give us that £1 for reservation before the Kickstarter campaign. Right. After that, you have this early bird, whereas the first 2 days you want to get a lot of momentum from Kickstarter. It's just like a honeymoon period that if the platform see you get more sales, they will put you higher ranking. So to get into the category top, we make sure that our price is going to be lower. That will facilitate urgency. That would be the early bird campaign. So after that, we will call a Kickstarter special. Kickstarter special is actually a price anchor. It's like if you see Kickstarter special and if you see early bird, you would naturally go buy early bird if there is still spot available. And so there will be a Kickstarter special there as in a price anchor to tell people, hey, you missed out super early bird, you missed out early bird. Don't worry, you can still buy the Kickstarter special. But in fact, we keep increasing the spot. We use Marco FBA, Marco or software to keep increasing the units from the existing early bird reward, right? And after that, if you feel like that you want to do a festival kind of things, there's a campaign that we do that come across Valentine's Day, and therefore we say buy two get this percentage off on this day. So that is going to be additional kind of things that you can do to promote your one-off event, because when you launch a campaign, you typically go for 30 days to 45 days, and then in the middle of the day, we normally call it campaign slump. Whereas it's like Kickstarter backers do not have the motivation to back you because there's no urgency, because the campaign is not ending, and therefore they will just wait. While they're waiting, they might forget what's going on. So you might want to do some activities in the middle of the campaign to get people engaged and to keep the Kickstarter algorithms going. So that is the campaign structure that we use.
Oh, that's a very good point. I just want to move on to Amazon now. You have a sticker on your wall saying "Think outside the box," right? So how is that relevant for Amazon sellers in terms of thinking outside the box?
Okay, how is that going to be think outside box? Oh, to be fair, I got to be honest, Amazon is already inside the box. If you sell on Amazon, you are bound to be the box. So if you increase the price, you cannot increase your. If you increase the price, sorry, if you did you get the new policy from Lightning Deal or coupon? Now the coupon is gonna affect your Lightning Deal in the future, that you will need to get the past 30 days lowest price, right? So you are playing by that rule already. So funny that you were asking me that question. I was like, no, in Kickstarter, you are actually try to follow the rule. But I will give you one tips if you want to do something else as box is use a software to monitor when is your competitors is actually doing Lightning Deal or 7 days deal, and then do the ASIN targeting when they are doing the deal. So when they get exposure, you get exposure as well when you're trying to attack the listing. So that's the outside of the box things I can give.
Well, that's a very good point you mentioned about dealing. So which software do you use to monitor that?
We use a dedicated software built by ourselves. So it's like a macro thing. Like
Okay, so it's inbuilt.
so if you want to build it, just go on to scrape all your competitors' names, right? And then use a software like TaskMagic or UXer that will scrape locally on your PC. And then it will go up to Amazon every single day to look for the name, look for the keyword and the name to see which one have the Lightning deal going. So you use the filter keyword that comes on screen. If they see that one, then we just record it in Google Excel sheet, and then you run the deal toward that for asking your PPC specialist to help you do that.
So do you automate that the full workflow that the system will scrape and pick up the deal, and it will put that on an Excel? And how do you implement that on the campaign side? Do you do it manually, or do you have the system in place to automate that as well?
So we have the automation until we scrape it into Google Sheet, and we have the competitors ASIN, just like a scat campaign, but now it's like a single ASIN campaign. Whoever is running, we just turn it on. Whoever is not running, just turn it off, and that's the.
Yeah. So my last question will be, this is something I always ask to PPC experts as well. What's your ideal campaign structure look like? Let's assume that you have 5 ASINs without no child listing inside it. So in that case, how do you structure it?
How do we structure our campaign? It depends on stage. Like we run PPCs by stage, like because we know that like different people have different need, especially like when you're out of stock, right? So we have different kind of like strategy for different stage. We have one for full launch, we have one for test launch, we have one for out of stock, we have one for trying out new things. So that is 4 different strategy, and even inside each of the strategy that we have different kind of budget allocation for different placement. We have different strategy for different placement as well. So that's the idea. If you're in a full launch right now, of course you will go for lowest hanging fruit is the deal, right? You run lowest hanging fruit is always SEO first, right? Your SEO, your title, your description, and then you run deal, all the deal, whatever you can run it all at once, and then once you boost up to ranking, then you start with the SQP, which is the search term query using VLOOKUP to find out what are converting. It means that your listing is relevant to which keyword, and therefore you should heavily invest into those keywords. And then we further separate into 80-20 rule, whereas 80% of budget is going on to SQP, but then we always take that 20% to do new things. But that 80-20 rule is actually another 80-20 rule of the bird eye view first, because there will be 80% of the of your budget is going to be focusing on keyword, and then 20% on display and headline. A sponsor brand. We call it sponsor brand and sponsor display right now, right? And so and then inside that you test the storefront as well, do different things, and most likely that the basic things like goal pending, self-servable, or like high search volume, low search volume keyword, or maybe a catch-all campaign by utilizing the auto campaign or the complementary substitute, and then the normal one. That's what you call it catch-all, right? So when you launch on Kickstarter on Amazon, to be fair, strategy is all there, like n-gram, trigram is all there already. But it's all about how you separate the stage of your product, right? And then the stocks level of your product, and you make adjustment, and then you apply 80-20 rule inside another 80-20 rule to make sure that like your product is optimized enough within your expected budget per day.
Oh, that's great. It's been wonderful, Dylan, to talk with you. You dropped some great advice on both the sides, on PPC side and on Kickstarter. So that's kind of a unique subject. And for the viewers, where can they find you?
If you guys want to talk to me, you can go to LinkedIn, Digital Dylan Official, or you can just come to Omirank to see the resources part. Like we have quite a lot of resource that you can look for. I teach about how to start your crowdfunding campaign as well on our website. I also teach about Amazon PPC as well. The cost is free because we want you to get up to 6 figures. We only work with sellers that is above 6 figures and above. So if you're not, utilize those resources that we have and see in the future if we can work together.
So that's great. I will put all the link in the show notes, the LinkedIn profile and the websites as well. Please do check it out. Thanks again, Dylan, for your time. I appreciate that.
Thanks, Sebastian.